All right, today we're going to dig into a really fascinating piece of database history. We're talking about a tool that basically rose from the ashes and just refused to fade away. This is the incredible story of Firebird.
And to really get what Firebird is all about, you have to start with this question right here. See, this isn't some story about a huge corporation launching a shiny new product. Nope, this is about a passionate community of developers who saw a crisis coming and decided to take matters into their own hands.
And this slide, this lays out the core conflict perfectly. So picture this. The year is 2000. The database is called InterBase, and its owner, a big company called Borland, just made a move that made the entire community, well, let's just say really nervous. All of a sudden, the future of this amazing database was totally up in the air. So what happened was, Borland released the InterBase source code to the public, but the community, they kind of saw the writing on the wall. They were worried that the project would just be abandoned or maybe mismanaged into the ground. So they took immediate, decisive action. They forked the code, which is basically like creating their own copy to develop independently. And right then and there, a brand new project was born. They called it Firebird. And that single act, that moment of preservation, was the birth of Firebird. It was such a bold move, and as we're about to see, it was a move that absolutely paid off. The community built a completely independent open-source SQL database, making sure the technology wouldn't just survive, but actually thrive.
Okay, so now that we know why it was created, let's zoom in a little and talk about what Firebird actually is. What exactly did the community save, and what makes this engine so special? At its core, Firebird is a relational database. This is the classic, super powerful model for organizing information. You've got data in tables, and the relationships between all those data points are clearly defined. It's a tried and true approach that is, quite literally, the backbone of countless applications out there.
The really cool thing is, Firebird inherited a really mature and powerful set of features right from its InterBase DNA. It had full-on SQL support, which is the standard language for talking to databases. It also had advanced stuff like stored procedures and triggers, letting developers build some pretty complex logic right into the database itself. And, crucially, it had something called multi-version concurrency control, which is just a very sophisticated way of letting a whole bunch of users work with the data at the same time without tripping over each other. And on top of all that, it is incredibly versatile. I mean, Firebird isn't just tied to one environment. It runs perfectly on major operating systems like Windows and Linux. But, and this is a huge deal, it's also small and efficient enough to run on embedded systems. We're talking things like point-of-sale terminals, medical devices, you name it.
That flexibility even extends to how you use it. You can set up Firebird as a traditional dedicated server that your whole network talks to. Or, and this is my favorite part, you can embed the entire database engine right inside your application. That means you get a self-contained zero administration solution. For desktop and mobile software, that's a massive win.
All right, so all those technical features are great, but the real story, the real magic, is in its impact. Why does a database that was born from a community fork over 2 decades ago still matter so much today?
I absolutely love this quote because it just perfectly captures the spirit of Firebird. It's not backed by some huge marketing budget. You're not going to see it in a Super Bowl commercial. Its reputation isn't built on flash. It's built on decades of quiet, reliable, predictable performance. It just works. And the proof is right here. When you look at where Firebird is actually being used, it's in sectors where failure is simply not an option. It's trusted to run applications in finance, manage patient data in healthcare, control processes in manufacturing, and even power government systems. These are mission-critical, can't-go-down environments.
So, Firebird's legacy is really one of survival and stability. Let's take a quick peek under the hood and see what gives this database its incredible staying power. Underneath it all, Firebird is just designed to be efficient and super low maintenance. The entire database often just lives in a single file, which makes backups and deployment an absolute breeze. It handles its own cleanup automatically, and it makes sure your data is safe with features like rollback segments. It's small, it's fast, and it is quietly incredibly powerful.
So if you take just one thing away from this whole story, let it be this. Firebird is the survivor. It represents a moment in time when a community just refused to let good technology die. They took the powerful DNA of InterBase and built this sustainable, long-lasting ecosystem all around it.
And that ecosystem is still going strong. We're talking over a quarter of a century. That same community has continued to maintain, improve, and modernize the engine. In the fast-moving world of software, that is just a remarkable achievement.
At the end of the day, lots of projects are open source, but very, very few achieve this level of longevity. Firebird isn't just open, it's enduring. It's proven that a community-driven project can be a stable, reliable foundation for decades to come.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought to chew on. In an industry that's completely obsessed with the next big thing, with constant updates and tech pushed by giant corporations, what's the real power of code that simply endures? What can we learn from the quiet confidence of a survivor like Firebird?